Marvel's Alien has recently concluded their first story arc since acquiring the property for their comic publications. The story Alien Bloodlines takes place 21 years after the events of Aliens and focuses on a retired Marine, Gabriel Cruz. He uncovers some dark truths about WEYLAND and becomes forced to confront his traumatic past as well as a horrifying present in the pursuit to rescue his estranged son. When the issue first premiered in March, I shared some thoughts on it on this channel, offered some predictions and hopes for the future. Now that this arc has concluded, I wanted to talk about it as a whole, but I'll still be mindful of spoilers, so I won't be giving away anything too major. Since that first issue, though, we've seen some interesting developments that I think are worth meditating on. It's no secret to seasoned Alien fans that the franchise has had a long and proud legacy with Dark Horse Comics since the late 1980s. They've done incredible things with the Alien series, stories that are still revered to this day, plenty of which I'll still talk about on this channel to no end. Even to the very last days, they were doing fresh and exciting things, such as broadening Amanda Ripley's story post-Alien isolation. And they were adapting unproduced screenplays, such as William Gibson's Alien 3 and the original draft of Alien by Dan O'Bannon. So it was a blow to many fans to see the Alien property leave its home over 3 decades and shift over to another publisher. To Marvel's credit, they did everything possible to make the welcome of Alien into the world of Marvel a warm one. You may recall the variant covers of other Marvel titles incorporating aliens, which were really cool. They hyped up this new series with great efforts. You may recall seeing the exciting animated teaser trailer that made its rounds on social media. And this first issue came with so many special variant covers itself that I've honestly lost count. We had the main cover, with art by In-Hyuk Lee, which has sort of become the instantly associated image with these new comics. We had the wide array of variants, including art from Ryan Brown, Mike Mayhew, Alan Quay, Ron Lim, Ken Lashley, Peach Momoko, Steve McNiven, Patrick Gleason, Clayton Crane, Del Otto, Scotty Young, just to name a few. So it's quite a mission to grab them all if you happen to be a variant completist. I managed to pick up a few myself, and I'm happy enough with what I was able to track down. All the variants were a good way to commemorate the premiere issue of this series. But a funny thing happened with this first issue. Within 24 hours of its release, all physical copies, a print run of approximately 300,000, sold out. That, of course, is not even taking into account digital comics, but today in 2021, comics, and any kind of physical media for that matter, don't exactly fly off the shelves. It's practically unheard of, and soon after, a second print run was produced with, you guessed it, another variant cover. Whether you're a fan of Marvel or not, whether you still may harbor hard feelings over the move from Dark Horse or not, it must be acknowledged that this is a pretty incredible achievement. This certainly proved Marvel knew how to promote this series. But was it worth all the hype? I guess that's what we'll be digging into today, and looking closer at Alien Bloodlines, what worked, what didn't, and what's next. Previously, I went into the first issue with a fair amount of detail, but to sum up the events, this is the story of Gabriel Cruz, former Marine turned security director at WEYLAND Epsilon Station. We learn that Cruz was the lone survivor of a mission that left him stranded and cocooned in an alien hive. We could also guess that he was, in fact, impregnated with an alien, but was able to have it removed somehow. Cruz, in his present position, now retiring, doesn't ask too many questions about what exactly is going on in Epsilon Station, but it's clear some experiments with xenomorph specimens are taking place. When Cruz returns to Earth, he attempts to reconnect with his son, Danny, who we learn only seems to be using their strained relationship to steal a keycard that can earn him entry into Epsilon Station. As it turns out, Danny has joined a small group of anti-corporate terrorists, possibly through a new girlfriend, and their plan is to expose WEYLAND true colors to the world. As you can expect, things go terribly wrong, subjects are let loose, and the issue ends with the hook of seeing a facehugger flying right toward Danny's face. Well, as mentioned, I won't be going too heavy into spoilers. There are definitely certain things I will be mentioning, such as Cruz's past, the characters who show up in the story, and a new type of xenomorph. These types of details you could probably piece together from some of the individual issue covers, so I say they're fair enough game, but when it comes to the major twists and revelations, I'll be keeping mum. It's a contained enough story, it doesn't reach out too broadly, but mostly it does take place on Epsilon Station. Present action will often pause for a flashback here and there to explore Cruz's past as we piece together his own mystery. It's not long after the incident on Epsilon that Cruz is informed of what's happened and his son's involvement. His former employer, Ted Reynolds, informs him of the situation and a looming fate that's about to befall the station and all the specimens within. The most precious of these is the alpha embryo, removed from Cruz all those years ago. Reynolds minces no words about what he knows and how Cruz, however unwittingly, and his son are involved. He offers him the choice of taking on a mission to Epsilon to retrieve the alpha embryo or face prison time. While he agrees to these terms, it's clear enough that his priority is to find and save Danny if it's not too late. He believes he can make things right, that he can have both the retrieval of the alpha embryo and the survival of his son in the outcome. Cruz boards Epsilon with 2 defense agents, arranged by Reynolds, and their search begins. The second issue of the 6 may be the least eventful, but it proves effective in its build-up of the tension in the overall story. The station is searched, and survivors are found along the way. This includes Danny's would-be girlfriend, Iris Humphreys, who has avoided capture. Also, there's the return of Bishop, at least a Bishop model. This has to be my favorite contribution to these new comics. Obviously, as a fan, it's great to see Bishop back. It's great to see his return in a new story where he can wage further fights against the Xenomorphs. It seems like a clever and logical enough way to bring back a beloved character, and it's done so with no real sense of convolution since, of course, he's an android. A Bishop model can return at any time, as one model or another, in any story, in ageless comic form. Sounds great to me. Soon we are introduced to the big bad new form of the Xenomorph, the Alpha, the source of all the others. In terms of size and design, I guess you could put this somewhere in between a Praetorian and a Queen, or King, alien. I think in any alien story there is a challenge in wanting to bring us the familiar types of aliens, but also introduce something new. Something that gives the particular story its own defining creature, and the Alpha is certainly what stands out most here, along with the mysterious being that haunts Cruz's past. We do also find out more about her, of course, and ultimately the pieces do come together. While maybe not an absolutely mind-blowing revelation, I'll say it is satisfying, and it's able to connect the world of Alien and aliens with the world of Prometheus and Alien Covenant. It does so seamlessly in a way that feels genuinely earned. What it all amounts to is the actions Cruz has to take in order to save his son. He cannot have it both ways, in saving both Danny and the Alpha. The salvation of one will certainly lead to the destruction of the other. This is a story of a father and, in essence, 2 sons. He has a connection to both, a biological bond and sense of duty. His conflict and his past comes together as he makes his desperate final stand. From Issue 5. For the last 20 years, every time I step into an elevator or any tight space, I'm right back in that goddamn tube, pounding on the glass as I feel the alien in my chest begin to stir. Every night in my dreams, I'm back in the nest, strung up between the hollowed-out corpses of my teammates, staring my own death in the face. We both know that the facehuggers don't just lay eggs. When they're attached, we become part of them. When we got back to Epsilon, they cut it out of me just in time. 2 minutes slower, I'd have been torn apart like the rest of my team had been. That was Epsilon's first Xenomorph, the one all our work was based on, the Alpha. And now it's all grown up. Just like you, Danny. Everything my life has amounted to is right here in front of me. The story was written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, himself a Marine, himself a father, and you can tell there is a great deal of sincerity to what he has brought to the story. Sincere fears about the evil of the world, and a sincere sense of obligation to protect one's children from it at all costs. Ultimately, it is a moving story, maybe unexpectedly so, amidst the horror, but it succeeds there. And needless to say, it also succeeds in the horror aspects. From the most rudimentary aspects of what you may expect as an Alien fan, it delivers on. We get all the creepy crawlies that are signature to the Alien franchise. The facehuggers, the chestbursters, the drooling aliens, and of course an offering of something new in the Alpha Alien. Where it fails crucially, I'm sad to say, is in the artwork. The penciling in Bloodlines is by Salvador Larroca, a name familiar by some before the release of these Alien comics, but not to me. And the more I learned about this artist, the less I liked. There is an unforgivable amount of trace work all throughout these 6 issues, and unfortunately it really takes you out of an otherwise compelling narrative. So I feel some real conflict here. I feel like the art is a huge misstep, and one that could have so been easily avoided. How did they put so much effort into the promotion, into the contributions of variant covers from an abundance of talented other artists, only to have the main art and the main comics fall so short? This is Alien. This is what we're looking for. We want a beautiful, horrific, artistic interpretation of this magnificent creature, not a series of figure traces. Just look at all of the art we've had in the past with Dark Horse. So many artists have been given the task to bring us their versions of the aliens, and we've seen them in so many different lights. There have been some really interesting interpretations and so many creative risks that I think paid off. Maybe not every single time, but the point is that you see the effort being made. An artist recognizes such a task for what it is and what comes with it. Bringing Giger's son to life is not a challenge to take lightly. So the very first thing we get with Marvel are these terribly run-of-the-mill aliens. They don't have a sense of movement or grace. Their articulation very much looks and feels like poses that are limited to the articulation of any figure you may have on the shelf. It's such a poor decision. I just can't believe it. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's mind-boggling.
It's pathetic.
And you know what? It makes me very, very wary of the future of Alien now that it is in Marvel's hands. What's next? Well, in a literal sense, we already have new issues and a new story to be released. It's out this week, in fact. The story is once again from the reliable Philip Kennedy Johnson, and it actually sounds really cool. This is the synopsis. The search for Sanctuary begins. A small colony of spinners, looking to lead a simpler life, have nearly completed terraforming a moon. A ship crashes into their Eden from the heavens. A terror is unleashed. Already, just from that synopsis, it sounds a little similar to the earlier Vincent Ward concept for Alien 3 with the wooden planet inhabited by monks. That's something I've always been interested in seeing fleshed out, and I suppose in lieu of Dark Horse ever having planned to maybe do that, this would be the next best thing. The art for this upcoming story, however, once again I'm afraid to say, is from Salvador Larroca. That gives me pause. I should be excited. I should be anxiously awaiting to see what's in store next, but I'm not sure I am. And it's purely due to this one crucial element, and that's a shame. So what's next for me as a fan is to maybe take a little bit of a step back. Maybe on this next story arc, wait for a collected publication. They have Bloodlines coming soon as a trade paperback in October, so I'd imagine they'll do the same for this next story arc. Maybe a little more patience is required, but usually those types of collections are less expensive than going issue to issue, and by that point you can read enough reviews and hear enough word of mouth to see if it's even worth it. And I guess if you're really, really patient, you can even wait for the issues to show up on Marvel Unlimited if you have a subscription. I think at this point they already have the first issue or two, so we're talking several months behind here. So there's options for the interested if not fully committed. That may be me, that may be where my preferences are lying, but here's one important thing to bring up. During the run of Alien Bloodlines, Marvel did produce another new Alien story. This was Alien's Aftermath, released in commemoration for the 35th anniversary of the James Cameron film. The story was by Benjamin Percy and the art was by Dave Wachter. The story was imperfect, almost kind of a novelty, but the art was really good. You could tell the art was actually art and not traces of toys. There's potential in that. There's potential in getting more Alien stories from the writing talents of those such as Johnson and the art from those such as Wachter. I think that would be an unbeatable combination. But they can't take the half measures for much longer before fans catch wise and the huge success of that maiden issue becomes far, far in the rear view. I think we can get great comics from Marvel. I think they can find their way to doing so if they're willing to recognize what has worked so far and what hasn't. I know in the world of internet commentary and evaluation, you feel like you have to go one extreme or another. Something is either great and the best thing ever, or it's the worst and total trash. But Alien Bloodlines doesn't really fit into either of those categories for me. I see the hints of greatness and the potential, but there's a lot holding it back. As an obsessed and loyal to a point Alien fan, I would root for them achieving that greatness, but we're not there yet. Have you read Alien Bloodlines? I'd love to hear your thoughts, if you agree, if you disagree, if you're looking forward to more from Marvel or not. Please comment below and let me know your opinion. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for all the latest videos from Alien Theory. My very special and sincere thanks goes out to Ronni, Jensen, XenoShadowMorph, Alyssane, and Grizz4756, Queen Tiers of the Patreon Hive. Thank you to John Griggs, the Hive's Praetorian. A very special thanks to Lady Anne in the Ellen Ripley tier of Excellence. And in the role of WEYLAND YUTANI Executive, NanashiFx. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow at alien_theory on Twitter and at alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.